Okay, let's start with a review of bouncing balls. So here they are. So your task here was to turn the single bouncing ball into multiple bouncing balls. Now, of course, you already have the solution code. And, I'm trusting you guys to try it on your own without looking at the solution code. But here's what my solution looks like. Let me just close all the others. And so let's do the original versus the new. So whereas in the original one, I create a single ball object. So this is the one that ran just with one ball. Here, I'm creating a ball array of 100 balls. And then I go through a loop to create all the balls themselves. And you see I'm setting the speed randomly, trying to make sure that the X and the Y speed are both positive and negative. I could do more than that. I could do, random size as well. Let's go times 40 plus 10. How about that? And if I run this now, I'll get different sizes of balls running. I did put them all in the same starting position. I could also randomize the starting position, and I could randomize the color. If I use color.rgb, I could put 3 random integers in there and have multicolored balls bouncing around the screen as well. Okay, now the first place where I needed to make a change was here. I need to draw not just one ball, but all of the balls. And I simply did this. So my array is called balls, and I used an enhanced for loop and called the loop variable just ball, singular, and then all I had to do was wrap the draw in that. And then down here, there's all this slightly more complicated code for moving and bouncing the balls, but if you look at it carefully, we're just calling methods of the ball object over and over and over again. So again, I just wrap that in a for loop as well. And Bob's your uncle, as they say. Done. Okay, so that's how you solve that. Now, what I wanted to do in this video is there is another exercise to try, and there's a final assignment as well. So we can talk about both of those things. But before we get to there, the second part of the guide ends with part G. So this is section 2 of the guide, part G. I think it's the last page. Talks about how, okay, now we have arrays of objects. Now we can do multiple association with very high multiplicities. So if you ignore the bank part here and just look at customer and account, we did this before. Now these are UML diagrams where I'm just doing the class names. I'm not bothering with all the details, just to focus in on the relationship. So this is the customer class and this is the account class. I believe we looked at an example of this previously. The customer has between 0 and 2 accounts. And originally we had modeled that by giving 2 variables of type account, 2 instance variables in customer of type account, and they were either set to null or they were set to a real account. And that's how we kind of took care of that. But if you think about any multiplicity of any size, like a bank might have 1,000 customers or 1,000,000 customers, obviously we can't have a separate variable for each one of those. So this is obviously a place where an array is going to help. So if we were modeling this, the bank has 1,000 customers in it. What that means is we have a private instance variable called customers, which is an array of type customer. Okay, so it's just an array of objects, but as a private instance variable. And again, there's 2 more steps, right? There's creating the array and then creating the customers to go into the array. So this shows you one way of doing it. So I create the array here, and then inside the constructor here for bank, which is a default constructor, I could create a loop in there to create the new customers one at a time. That may not make sense for a bank. So here's another way to do it. Here I just create the array variable as a private variable. Then in here I'm getting an array of customers passed to the bank constructor, just like what we've already seen, but now they're customer objects. And then I'm going to copy or assign to this .customers to the array that I've got here. Okay, so we're gonna go through the customers array probably and copy them over, and it has to be what you would call a deep copy because of privacy leak problems, but we're not going to worry about that too much. Okay, so that's another way that you could do it. So when you're creating a situation of multiple association like this, high multiplicities of association where you've got 1,000 or 100 or 10,000 objects associated with another class, you need an array type, or one way to do it anyway is an array type variable. And then you just need to figure out how am I going to create the array and how am I going to initialize it. And that's mostly going to be done in the constructor. So that's where you'll be creating things. And you may have the objects passed in as an already existing array, or you might choose to create the objects some other way or copy them over from an already existing array. Okay, so that's kind of how it's done. Now there is another exercise, exercise 2b here, it's called the star field exercise. And the nice thing about this exercise is it kind of mirrors in many ways the arrangement of classes that you have to create for the assignment that's coming. So let me show you what the assignment is. So there's starter code for it here. I had commented this out in a previous video because the star field class has errors, as you can see. So we have a class called star here, which is given to you, and it models a single star. By star field I mean like a black sky with a bunch of points of light in it. So a star is a single point of light. It has an X and a Y location. It has a color, and it can draw itself. And it draws itself as a tiny little oval, a 2 by 2 oval, using whatever color it's supposed to be. And there's a set color method as well. Test star field is this is made using the animation template. So everything is in the animate method, and you're not supposed to change this code. What you're supposed to do is write the star field class so that this works. So you have to be able to create a star field object. This is the width, height, and the number of stars. And then you tell the starfield object to draw itself. So what the starfield object does is it creates 1,000 stars that it controls. And when you tell it to draw itself, what it does is it draws a big black block or whatever color you want for the background. And then it goes through its array of stars that it's got and tells them all to draw themselves, because they each have their own draw method. And then it does this twinkling thing where it calls the twinkle method on the star field. So you have to create a star field with a constructor, a draw method, and a twinkle method. It's the twinkle method. The idea is it's going to kind of make the stars twinkle. And what we do here is we simply, it looks like I'm actually doing the black background color for you. So all the star field draw method actually has to do is just draw the stars. It just redraws the stars. And if you've done it correctly, you get a twinkling effect. So let me just comment this back out so that it works and run. So there are, in the solutions, you can find my solutions to this. Now, so what I've got here is this is 1,000 stars. And if you look carefully and for long enough, and if the video quality is high enough, you'll see them twinkling. Every now and then one of them, every now and then one of them changes color slightly. So the best twinkling effect I found was to change the color of a star to a new random grayscale color. So I make a random number between 0 and 255, and then I create, so say it's 100, and then I create the color 100, 100, 100, and I set the star field to the star to that color. Okay, so why is this a useful exercise for us? Because over here, you see we've got an arrangement here where the star field contains some number of stars, and the star here, this is called the clean star, the Kleene star, K-L-E-E-N-E, and it means 0 or more. So a star field needs to have a star array of size 0 or higher, and it contains that many stars. Okay, and it has to have a constructor, so it's got the width and the height and the number of stars, and so you can see no star arrays being passed in here. So the constructor is going to create the star array according to the size that was asked for here, and using this width and height. So each star should be in a random position, and you can use math.random multiplied by the width and then cast as an int to get an x position, and multiplied by the height to get a y position. Okay, and you should also give it a random grayscale color. So it tells you how to do that. Generate an integer gs in the range 0 to 255 using math.random, and then create, does this work? New color gs. Not sure if that actually works. It might be color.rgb. I think you need to do color.rgb. I think this is left over from when we were pre-FX, when we were using a different system. Yeah, I think that doesn't work. We've got color.rgb. That should work, but I don't think, can we do new color? Oops. No, that doesn't work. So I'll fix that in the assignment. That should be color.rgb, not new color. The new color class in FX doesn't work the same way as the old one did. So that's what you got to do. And in the assignment, you're going to create a slot machine class, and that slot machine class contains a number of wheels. So I don't know if you guys know what a slot machine looks like, but if we just go slot machine here, images, just in case you're not sure what I'm talking about, these are slot machines. So here's an example of one here. This one has 3 wheels. You pull the lever and it spins the wheels, and some random pattern comes up on the wheels. So what you're modeling is a slot machine object, and it can contain any number of wheels, 0 or more wheels. So it's the exact same relationship as the star field and the stars. You've got your slot machine and it has its wheels, and it calls on the wheels to do things at different points. That's what you're going to be doing in the assignment. So I think that's why this will help you. And you're going to, again, you'll have to create the wheel objects, the array of wheel objects inside the constructor for the slot machine. So if you want, we can go over, I can walk you through the beginning of this code and then leave you to do it. So if you don't want to see that, you can stop the video now, or fast forward to the end where we'll take a quick look at the assignment. But maybe what I'll do is I'll just walk you guys through to the point where we no longer have any errors. Okay, so what I mean by that is I'm going to basically create the interface for the Starfield class. So here's the UML diagram for the Starfield class. Let me make this bigger and move it over a little bit so we can see it. Here we go. So that's the Starfield class right there. And so first thing we're going to do is we'll start with a Starfield class, new class called Starfield. I think it does not have a capital S. I'm taking that all as one, capital F, sorry. So make sure it has the right spelling. So now we have a Starfield class. We've still got errors in here though, but not the same. Notice this has been resolved now, but we don't have the constructor and so on. So we have to create the method stubs that we need in order to be able to do this. Move this over a little bit. So what do we need? We need a constructor, public Starfield, int width, int height, int numstars. Like that. Boom. Okay, I'm going to leave that blank. All right, so that'll get us again past one of our errors here. So now we're good here. What else do we need? We need the twinkle method and the draw method. Yeah, this is old too. This is, again, the old system. This should be graphics context. I'll fix that. This is where I find all the errors in my materials, is when I'm teaching it to you guys. So the twinkle method is public. It doesn't return anything. It's called twinkle. And it's up to you what you want to do here, exactly how you might want to make it work. I found the best looking twinkle, in my opinion, was to just randomly pick one star in the array of stars and change its grayscale color, change its color to a different grayscale color. But that's all we need to compile things, and we need a draw method. It's going to be public void draw, and it actually needs, don't pay any attention to that, it should be a graphics context, which we usually call GC in this course. Oh wow, it auto imported that for me. And you're going to draw the stars there. And then the only other thing we need in order to have implemented this correctly is to implement this relationship here, which is a multiple association relationship with the star object. So for that, I would add a private instance variable of type star array, and let's just call it stars. So that's the skeleton. Now everything that's here is here. And it's actually going to enable Starfield to run. So test Starfield to run. So now I can run this. It's not going to do anything interesting though. I'm just going to get a black block. Okay, So you can take this one thing at a time. So start by filling in the constructor to create the star objects. Then do the draw method so that you're seeing the star objects. They should draw themselves. And then try working on the twinkle method, keeping in mind that it's going to be called basically 20 times a second, I think, every 50 milliseconds to do its thing. Okay, and then if you want to go nuts, exercise 2C, add some other elements, UFOs, rockets, astronauts floating past, and use an array to store and move these objects as well. And I did do a couple of things along those lines. Starfield with UFO here has, it's the twinkling starfield. The stars should still be twinkling, and I added in a UFO. This is definitely more advanced stuff. This one I have multiple UFOs. Or do I? Try that again. There we go. Multiple UFOs moving around. So there's a UFO class that I've created. It's kind of based on the ball class that was bouncing around before. But they're not bouncing, they're just moving in random directions. And I believe this might have been Mark Yent that did this. Or maybe it was me, a scrolling starfield, which is kind of neat. Notice they're still twinkling, but they're scrolling. Who did that? I need to find out who to give credit to for that. Is there going to be... I don't want to show you guys the code. I mean, you guys have the code, but who did this? Oh, it was a student. Look at that. I think a student did this. Maybe. That's pretty cool. So that's the scrolling star field, which has some code added in here. Dang, I wish I've lost who wrote it. It would be nice to see a number there. Okay, so try and do that. And I did want to show you, I don't want to go over it exhaustively, but let's take a quick look at the assignment here, which is week 6. Assignment, this one. Okay, so like I said, it's to create a slot machine. I won't go through it exhaustively. You guys should read over it. And then we can talk about it in the live class. But the idea is you've got these descriptions here. You've got wheel objects, and a slot machine is basically a collection of wheel objects. So these are the wheels. I'm hoping most people have seen one of these before. When you pull the lever or press the button, it's going to spin these wheels, and then you end up with maybe 7 cherries, triple bar showing. Maybe you win some money. You put if it was a real one, you'd put a quarter in or put some casino credits in or something like that. So a wheel, this describes the objects, and you're somewhat constrained. I want you to create a UML diagram for this, but I want it to have the things that I'm saying it's supposed to have. So a wheel object has a certain number of faces, and they have descriptions, 7 cherries bar, and it has a color. So the whole wheel has a color. The color, the number of faces, and the text of each face on the wheel is specified when a wheel object is created and cannot be changed. Okay, so these are things you're going to store internally. You don't have setters for them. What can a wheel do? It can spin itself, which means choose a new face at random. It can report the number of faces it has and the index of the current face that's showing. So if it has 3 faces and these are their names, index face 0 is 7, face 1 is cherries, face 2 is bar. It also has a toString method that reports the text of the current face. So when you print a wheel, it should just say 7 or cherries or bar or something like that. And it can draw itself on a graphics context when it's given an X and Y location. And that can be very simple. I wanted to put this in here just kind of for fun and for inspiration, but it can be very simple. It can just be the word 7 in the color that the wheel is supposed to be. So a slot machine, though, has a set of wheel objects in an array. So there's a multiple association relationship between slot machine and wheel. Each wheel can be a different color, but every wheel has the same set of faces. That's a little bit unrealistic, but it's because some slot machines have different faces on the wheels. The number of wheel objects, their colors, and the text for each face is determined by parameters passed to a constructor. So you pass in the details of the wheel objects to the slot machine. It creates the wheel objects. Constructor creates the wheel objects and stores them in an array. And then you tell the slot machine, I want you to spin your wheels by calling a method, and it spins it. And then you can also ask the slot machine, how much did I win? And the rule for winning is, if none of the wheels show matching faces, it's 0. If 2 of them match, then the payout's 1. If 3 match, the payout is 2, and so on. And finally, it has a histogram method and a toString method. Oh, it has a toString method and a draw method. So it can, just like the star field, it can draw the wheels on a graphics context, and it has a toString that reports some stuff about it. Okay, and now the histogram method. So this is a special method in Slot Machine. When you call the histogram method, the Slot Machine spins the wheels 1,000,000 times by calling its own spin method, and it uses an array of counters to record the number of times each payout comes up. That's what a histogram is. So this is a histogram of rolling 2 6-sided dice. We rolled them, I don't know how many times, probably 10,000 times. And the 2 came out this many times, the 3 came out this many times, and so on. So what you do is you use an array to count the number of times 0 comes up, 1 comes up, 2 comes up, and so on. And you can use this could be the index of the array. So item 2 in the array here counts the number of times a 2 comes up, and so on. Okay, and I'll just read over all of the details and the view and the idea of doing extras and stuff. You can, but here's the example output. So you're gonna have a main method that has 2 machines. It's a bit like the chicken assignment, and you choose between them. So I'm going to choose. There's just a description of them here. I'm going to choose machine 1, and then it immediately. This is the toString of the slot machine, so it's printing out the wheels here. It starts they're all cherries, so the current payout is 4 because there's 5 matches, and then I choose 1 spin. And then you can see it's different. Now the wheels, now it's strawberry, banana, kiwi, apple, orange, and they're being printed here. So it changes this look here. The payout here is 0 because none of them match. And then I choose lots of spins, and it spins 1,000,000 times and shows me the number of times that I paid out 0. Number 1 came up the most, 640,000 times, and so on. And payout of 4, which would be all 5 matched, hardly ever came out. And then it prints the slot machine and shows me the state that it's in. So this is after 1,000,000 spins. This was the last spin with a payout of 1 because the grapes are matched twice. And then I say no more spins in it, and it's done. Okay, so that's what you're aiming at. And again, we'll talk about it more in class. But it's a very similar relationship to the star field and the stars. Right down to actually having the stars draw themselves. We have the wheels draw themselves in different positions. You can make things look a lot better than this. I wanted to set a low bar because I don't want you guys to necessarily go nuts on this unless you want to. But the slot machine itself, my slot machine is just, when I call draw, it just calls the draw for the wheels, and they just print the text in a certain color. But you could have the slot machine draw itself around the wheels. You could have the wheels be horizontal. You could try using images for them. You could put in sounds and stuff like that. So feel free to make it try and look more like a slot machine if you want, as long as you're respecting the general design of the assignment, right? So the slot machine class and the wheels class should be more or less the same. Okay, that's it. I hope you have fun with this one, with these exercises and with this assignment, and I will see you in class.